What's going on, Orange Nation? This is Neil Adler with your latest episode of Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. And we're halfway home, friends. It's Wednesday, hump day. Syracuse football on Saturday, number 24 Tennessee, number 4 Tennessee. That would be a fun game to play, top 5 team. Number 24 Tennessee and Syracuse on Saturday, noontime on the East Coast, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, ABC. How are we feeling? Syracuse going to win? I think they're going to win. I'm not so sure, but I'm just saying that. I think they're going to win. Anyway, this is kind of a funny story. It's these two schools both have orange in their colors, and a lot has been made, not just this week, and I've actually talked about it on Syracuse Central in the past, but I'm just going to update you with something, a little nugget here. A lot has been made of the fact that both these schools are orange-clad schools. Obviously, Syracuse, my alma mater. The Syracuse Orange is literally their name. Tennessee, the Volunteers, another orange-clad school, just like others out there. And certainly a lot on social media from the Volunteers fan base talks about how they're the real orange school. And they use the orange emoji, even though we're literally the Syracuse Orange. But earlier this week, on Monday, as teams were conducting their press conferences, media availability for week one, and Fran Brown spoke, as well as folks from Tennessee, including junior linebacker Jeremiah Talander. Hopefully I got his name right. I think I did. So Jeremiah, I saw on social media, I saw a quick little nugget in there that he said that Syracuse has the wrong shade of orange over there, end quote. That's funny. I'm not mad at him. It's cool. He's just taking a little jab, a little trolling. It's cool. I just think it's funny that the whole kind of thought notion from Tennessee. And again, I've said this earlier this week. I can't remember if it was yesterday or not, but I actually like Tennessee because my son lives in Nashville. And he roots for the Vols. He roots for Syracuse too, among other teams, but he loves the Vols for football. But I'm obviously rooting for Syracuse on Saturday, but I don't dislike, and I spent a lot of time in Nashville. And I've been to Knoxville. It's actually a nice little college town, actually not small. It's a big college town. But I'm not rooting for the Volunteers on Saturday, especially because my son, if the Volunteers win, he'll talk a lot of smack. He's 9, but he still talks a lot of smack. So it's just funny, though, that this whole ideology from Volunteers Nation that because they're the SEC school and the SEC is better than the ACC and they made the playoff and they're a better program. And they are a better program right now than Syracuse. Syracuse won 10-3 last year. They won 10 games in 2018, but otherwise, But, they're trending in the right direction under Fran Brown. But the idea that, okay, so we're this big, bad SEC team, and we have orange in our as part of our uniform, colors, et cetera, or whatever, that we're the orange school, and you've got the wrong shade of orange on, and we're going to use orange emoji. It's just, again, I'm just messing around here, but we're literally called the Syracuse Orange. Our mascot is Otto the Orange. Otto the Orange. So... Again, silly story. Much love to Jeremiah. He's just messing around. It's cool. But it is funny. I just, for numerous reasons, I hope Syracuse wins. Number one, they're my alma mater. Number two, I want to talk smack to my son because I'll see him the next weekend. Number three, I want Syracuse to get off to a great start and beat a ranked team at a neutral site, an SEC team, and start off 2025 on a positive note given the schedule this year. And I also just want to be able to and I don't talk smack on social media in an obnoxious, mean way. I have fun with it. There are people out there that are just crazy and mean, and I shouldn't use the word crazy, but they're just mean and just cruel, and it takes it too far. I like to be talking smack in a fun, positive way. But I will talk smack if Syracuse wins because I'll just be yeah, we're the real orange. We're the Syracuse Orange. Orange emojis nonstop. Maybe I'll just write an article for one of the other places I write where I'll just have 500 emojis or something. I don't know. That probably wouldn't go over too well, but it'd be fun. Any event, that's Jeremiah. I thought it was funny, so we'll move on from there. But Syracuse, Tennessee on Saturday afternoon. Okay, so this next one, we're going to look at an NFL update on Tuesday by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. NFL teams had to, it's cut week. They had to reduce their rosters to that initial 53 player limit. And so I apologize because obviously things are in flux and things could have changed. So everything that I'm saying right now, there could be some slight variations. But I just wanted to update you all on various Syracuse players, that were recent, just finished with Syracuse this past year, or maybe, in the last few years, and kind of where they are, and they made their team, if they didn't. And keep in mind that some of these guys that I mentioned that got waived by their team, they could sign on with another team, whether it's, for a regular season roster, uh, practice squad, more likely, because again, they have to have within a certain limit. But so I don't know how realistic it would be for guys that were waived on Tuesday afternoon for them to make an opening day roster. But again, they could sign on as a practice squad. So I'll stay on top of this, but I just want to give you kind of the quick skinny on what's going on here. So a couple guys that I want to mention that made their 53-man roster. One is former Syracuse running back LeQuinn Allen Jr. In Jacksonville with the Jaguars, and I've seen reports that the Jacksonville coaches look at him, at least initially, as a guy that they can really rely on in third down situations, given his running abilities, his pass catching abilities, his blocking abilities. So he could carve out a nice niche initially with the Jaguars and then kind of see if that grows from there. And again, he had a really nice junior year at Syracuse, over 1,000 yards rushing and over 500 yards receiving. And then, so for Los Angeles, the Chargers, not the Rams, but the Chargers, was really happy to see that former Syracuse linebacker Marlo Wax Jr. made the roster, as well as, and this wasn't a surprise, or at least wasn't to me, Aronde Gatson II, who was an All-American tight end at Syracuse. But Wax, he was an undrafted free agent. Some of these other guys were drafted in the later rounds, including Gatson. But Wax, he was really good in the preseason, and I'm just really happy for him. Andre Schmidt happens. This is awesome. So Adam Schefter and others reported. I'm just going to grab a drink here of water. Andre Schmidt is going to be the starting place kicker for the Cleveland Browns this year. And that's super cool. He was an undrafted free agent a few years back. He won the Lou Groza Award at Syracuse and was an All-American, I think, in 2018. I could have gotten that year wrong. I probably should have known that ahead of time. It was a few years ago. He was the best place kicker in college, and he had a great career. Can he kick for Syracuse this year? Does he have any eligibility left? No, just I think Syracuse's place kicking hopefully will be better this year. But super happy for Andre. That's super cool. Super cool. Cleveland Browns. I don't know how good they're going to be. We'll see. Quarterback situation, we'll see. But Andre Schmidt happens is the place kicker. So a bunch of other guys unfortunately got waived. And again, we'll see what happens with them next. But I'm just going to kind of run through here. In Dallas, linebacker Justin Barron and defensive back Elijah Clark both got waived, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. With the New York Giants, former Syracuse and Illinois quarterback Tommy DeVito was released by the Giants. He actually played some games for them, in the last few years, but he got released this go around, and we wish him well and want to see him. I assume he'll get picked up by another team, hopefully. Kyle McCord got waived by the Eagles. That was anticipated after on Sunday. The Eagles traded for another quarterback, Sam Howell, formerly of North Carolina, and he'll be in the number 3 spot. And once they traded for him, it looked like McCord would be out. And again, I hope he signs on with a practice squad. Now, this one was kind of a surprise. Jackson Meeks, the former All-ACC wide receiver for Syracuse this past season after transferring in from Georgia, where Fran Brown used to be the defensive backs coach, he was waived by Detroit. He had a really good preseason. So I was a little surprised by that, or at the very least a little bummed out by it. It is what it is. I do think he has a future in the NFL. Edge rusher Fidel Diggs was waived by the New Orleans Saints, and defensive back Clarence Lewis, who I believe was an All-ACC performer for Syracuse last year, he was waived by the Tennessee Titans. So, it is what it is. Look, it's not easy to make it in the NFL, and some of these guys are going to make it in the NFL, but that's kind of the update of where we are. And other guys to obviously follow include, Andre Cisco, the former defensive back at Syracuse, Zaire Franklin, um, and Garrett Williams out in Arizona. So we'll keep updated on where things stand with these guys, and hopefully they all sign on somewhere and further their NFL careers. Jackson Meeks was probably the one I was most surprised with. So wishing them all well. All right, next up, we're going to talk a little bit more about Dimitri Samuel Jr., who's just a fascinating prospect for Syracuse this year. And I've mentioned him on other episodes of Syracuse Central of late. And he's the second youngest player in all of FBS football. He's 17. He signed with Syracuse and then reclassed from 2026 to 2025. He was a 4-star recruit in Florida, which is a state that Syracuse is recruiting very heavily these days across numerous cycles. And Samuel has been earmarked by Fran Brown as one of the starting cornerbacks for Syracuse, and he's also going to play wide receiver, so he's going to be two-way. And he's gotten a lot of props, preseason recognitions. Again, preseason stuff is preseason stuff, but he was named a top 10 impact freshman not too long ago by ESPN. He was named as a preseason true freshman All-American by On3 and I believe 24/7 Sports. And then the latest thing, which came out this week, is that he is a member of the preseason watch list for the Sean Alexander Award, which goes out annually to the top freshmen in the country. And so, do I think that Samuel is going to win any of these awards, as the top overall freshman? Probably not. But could he be, if he is really good at cornerback and get some wide receiver, could he be a true freshman All-American? Absolutely. And I like the way he handles himself, and Fran Brown and the staff, they speak highly of him, given, just his maturity level, his work ethic, even though he's, again, 17. So cool stuff for him. We'll see how he fares. The Syracuse secondary has some really talented pieces. I think at cornerback, I wouldn't say they're question marks, but they're just younger. When you're talking about Chris Peel, Samuel, and Devian Kerr, but then at the safety positions, depending on what kind of schemes they have, you're looking at veterans. You're looking at Deuce Chestnut, Devin Grant, Barry Buxton, and others. There's other guys too. So they've got talent. It's just kind of a blend of older guys and younger guys. And on the corners, they are definitely a little bit younger. So we'll see how they fare. And they'll be thrown in with the Wolves right away, so to speak, against Tennessee. Although I don't think Tennessee's quarterback, Joey Aguilar, is as good as their quarterback from last year. But then again, maybe he will be, because this is all just talking about things in the preseason and it's on paper and blah, blah, blah. So, and Aguilar can play. So the corners will be tested early, including Samuel. I'll be curious to see, obviously throughout the season, but just, focusing on week 1, does he get any reps at wide receiver? Is Fran Brown just going to play him at corner, in the secondary, and just kind of leave it at that for the first week? We'll see. I mean, Syracuse's wide receiver room, they lost some pieces, whether to the transfer portal, into exhausting eligibility. For instance, Meeks, Gatson, and then Pena going to Penn State. But they've got a lot of guys returning. So I don't know how many reps Samuel's going to get as a freshman in week 1 or just throughout the season. But I'm really curious. I can't wait for this game. It's going to be so fun. All right, so moving from Chris Samuel. All right, so this last one here, it's not about Syracuse per se. So I apologize if this segment doesn't interest you a ton. My bad. I had to drop a line here about Lee Corso. And you know what? Do me a favor, and if you're a Lee Corso fan, drop something in the comment section for me about your favorite Lee Corso moment, headgear pick, whatever. Quote. Obviously, not so fast, my friend. Is this like his trademark? Does he have that trademark with the Patent and Trademark Office? Just drop me a line, because I think that millions of fans love Lee. I kind of equate him with Dick Vitale, and they're both just ambassadors for their respective sports. And Vitale, I know some people get frustrated by him in terms of being an analyst just because he just talks a ton and is so loud. And I love it personally. but I think most people with Dick Vitale would say, even if they don't love him as an analyst per se, just his style or whatever, or too much exuberance, they still respect him. And he's obviously been through a lot health wise. And so he's an ambassador for the sport. And the same thing goes for Lee Corso. So, Lee played at Florida State and was a head coach at multiple stops. But that was like a lot of that was like before my time. I mean, he joined ESPN, I believe, in the like, I don't know if it was 87, something like that. So I was like around 10 at that point. So I don't remember as much in the early days, but here's what I'll say about Lee. I definitely became and college basketball and college football are clearly my two favorite sports. And I was a fan like in the late 80s of both sports, but what got me really going in terms of being a huge college football fan, a fanatic actually, in part was later on into the 90s. And a lot of it had to do with College Game Day, the ESPN show, which I still watch. I don't love it as much as I used to, and that's a tangent we don't need to get into. But Lee Corso definitely played a role in me becoming more and more of a college football fan. And he's so passionate, and obviously he's been through stuff, and he had a stroke a couple years ago, and I believe he's 90 years old, and he'll call his final, not call like being an analyst, but he'll have his final headgear pick in week 1 on Saturday. Obviously I wish it was Syracuse, but it's not going to be. It's going to be Texas and Ohio State in Columbus, number 1 versus number 3, defending national champs against the CFP semifinal. And that's fine. I'm going to watch it and I'll tear up a little bit. But I want to say thank you to Lee, because he is college football, and college football is him. And his passion, his kindness. I don't know him personally, but he just seems like a good human being, and that's what I'm all about. And honestly, like the headgear picks, not as much in recent years as his health hasn't been as great, but just back in the day, like they were just hilarious. And I don't remember what his overall, I know he's done it over 400 times. I don't remember what his overall record is, but they were just funny. Like when he put the thing on and then he'd start waving like this, and Herb Street or whoever starts it's just funny. I would just start laughing. I would just laugh with them. And I love the show, and when they make their selections overall, and I'm fans of other guys on the show, including Herb Street, and I love Chris Fowler back in the day, and Reese Davis, some of the other guys, some of the other people that are on it I'm not as big as fans of now, but that is what it is. But Lee is just, he said at the ESPYs last month, I'm not quoting verbatim, but he basically said, I got in television to put a smile on people's faces. Let me tell you, Lee, you put a smile on my face, like laughing out loud smile. And I guarantee you it's the same way for millions of other fans. So from all of us at Orange Nation, even though College Game Day has still yet to come to Syracuse, but I believe it will at some point. It'll be after Lee is no longer on the program. But from all of us at Orange Nation, thank you, Lee Corso. You're a national treasure when it comes to college football, and a great human being. Thanks, friends. This has been a good episode. I've really enjoyed talking about Lee and some of this other stuff. We'll continue with Syracuse football, basketball, and recruiting throughout this week and into the future. Again, drop me comments on some of these topics. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. I appreciate you tuning in. This is Neil Adler with Syracuse Central via the Fan Arch Network. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care. Appreciate you.